The Terminal isn't just a romantic comedy or a lighthearted story about an immigrant stuck in an airport. It's a story about loneliness, about displacement, not just from a country, but from meaning. It was about how a man can lose his home, his language, his bearings, and still find a way to be human. Victor doesn't break down, he doesn't rage against the system, he simply keeps going, quietly, patiently, softly but stubbornly. This story is one of the most quietly powerful portrayals of male loneliness that we have ever seen. This is male loneliness when no one is watching. Victor arrives in America like a lost bird. He's confused, disoriented, not just linguistically, but emotionally too. And the thing here is that most films about male loneliness focus on the violence, the breakdowns, the noise, but Victor's loneliness is almost silent. Yes, he's frustrated, but this frustration is the frustration of someone who is too polite to make a scene and too overwhelmed to even know who he can ask for help. Psychology talks about male depression and loneliness being masked by stoicism, a form of internalized suffering where silence becomes survival. Victor isn't stoic because he's unemotional. He's stoic because it's the only thing he has left. And that's what makes his story so devastating to observe. Victor's problem isn't just that he can't speak English. It's that he no longer belongs anywhere. His country is gone. His documents are meaningless. His presence is seen as an inconvenience, not a reality. It's linguistic confusion and existential confusion as well. He's not just fighting immigration policies, he's fighting a system that treats existence as something that can be paused until it's convenient to be acknowledged again. One small but heartbreaking example is when Victor tries to explain his situation to the customs officials and they respond with blankness, claiming policy and requiring procedure. His humanity gets lost in translation, not between languages, but between human hearts and bureaucratic systems. Sociologists call this administrative violence, where dehumanization happens not through cruelty, but through neglect. And Victor is not denied with direct abuse. He's denied with sheer indifference. And sometimes that can be even more painful. And then there is the romance subplot between Victor and Amelia, which is often misunderstood. Because it's not a grand love story, Amelia doesn't represent passion, and neither does Victor really. She represents recognition of him as a human. In a world where most people look through him, she looks at him. She treats him like a human being, not a case file or a mistake or a statistic. His gesture toward her, bringing her food and making her laugh, aren't about seduction or eroticism. It's about human connection, about proving to himself that he still matters to someone, that he's not invisible, that maybe he still matters to himself too. Psychologically, this reflects the human need for interpersonal validation, the basic human craving to be seen and valued, especially when identity is under threat. The romance in Victor's story didn't need to work for his character arc to develop, because the real love story was Victor refusing to become invisible. It was self-love. Victor Navrosky teaches quiet lessons of resilience. He struggles to explain himself, but he still tries to learn. He sits alone with his meal vouchers, unsure how long the imprisonment will last, and he watches the world pass him by while he remains frozen in place. And the most impactful thing here is that this loneliness is mundane, not cinematic or trendy. It's real, it's raw, it's not inspirational or aspirational, it's powerful. Victor's journey reflects existential resilience. the ability to sustain meaning, identity, and dignity even when the external world stops recognizing you. He teaches himself English, he makes friends, he builds a life out of scraps, not because he's heroic, but because it's necessary. And it's the only way out of the limbo. And ultimately, it becomes his only way to get out of the limbo. So The Terminal is categorized as comedy, but personally, I've always seen it as a meditation on human dignity and on how loneliness isn't always loud, and it's often actually quite invisible and silent. Not only that, but it can be slow and humiliating and quietly heroic. Viktor Navrosky reminds us that when life puts us in a never-ending loop and when the world stops recognizing who we are, that is not our call to lose ourselves. That is our call to maybe wait and learn and build and eventually walk out of the war zone carrying ourselves.